In this video, I'm going to show you how you can raise $60,000 or more to help with a down payment for your first rental property. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can raise $60,000 so you can get your first rental property. I'm not going to just show you one way, I'm going to show you 3 different ways of being creative to raise money, especially if you don't have that money just sitting around waiting to go. Now, if you check out this video here, this is where I explained on how you can make money in your sleep getting your first rental property. But I didn't say that I would do another video on how to raise that $60,000 deposit. So this is a follow-on from that video. So there's going to be 3 ways we're going to do this. And the number 1 way is obviously the bank. The banks have money and you can borrow this from the bank as well as a mortgage. But obviously you need some more security for that. So we're going to write down here number 1, the bank. So this can be raised using equity in your home that you have, or maybe you have a business, or maybe you have a line of credit. There's various ways that a bank will loan you money secured on other assets. And then you can pull that money out and use it for a down deposit on an investment property. So because it's going to an investment property and an asset, we'll call this a good debt, not a bad debt. Bad debt is when you use a credit card to go on buy something you don't need and then you're stuck with the repayments. But when you have an asset creating enough money to pay for these debts, we call that good debt. And that's how people are able to scale and keep buying more property. Okay. The second way we're going to raise this money, if you don't have the assets or able to get it from the bank, is 2 OPM. OPM. That stands for other people's money. You probably hear this term floating around in the investment world, and I can buy a property with 0 money down. And this is how you do it. You use other people's money. So with other people, maybe they got the funds in another investment or in the bank themselves, or they can use the bank. So OPM could go to the bank. Maybe you have a friend, a colleague, a family member that has a house and it's paid off or almost paid off, and they have enough equity in the house in order to release it so they can help fund your investment property. Now you're wondering, why would somebody want to do this? Well, if they can get a line of credit or a loan from their bank and pay maybe 5 or 6% on that loan that they're going to get, then they can loan it to you and you can be paying 10 or 12% on the money. So let's use those numbers. Let's use round to even numbers. So 5% they're going to pay on their money and you're going to pay them 10% on that money. So they're making a difference of 5%. Well, you think it's 5%, but it's not actually 5%. And this is how banks work. Because if they're borrowing $1,000 and they're paying, well, let's do $100. We'll do $100. If they've got $100 in the hand from the bank, and they're going to pay for that cost $5. So they're paying $5, which is 5%. So for that $5, they're actually earning $10 because you're paying 10% interest. So they're not just making 5%, they're actually making 100% of their money. Because you ignore the baseline money because that's just in and out. It's the interest on where they're making money. So for every $5 they're paying out, they're actually getting back $10. So that's 100% of their money. And another way OPM can raise money as well is by using RSPs or other tax savings. Instead of putting them on the stocks and gambling with the money, they can actually do a self-directed fund and keep the money still in trust, it's still in RSPs, money still in tax-free savings, but it's self-directed. And they can direct that into a trust company, which then can lend it out as like a mortgage to people they know. So you have an agreement with the trust company and they handle all that. So it's not well, there's always risk with every investment, and you need to be aware that there's risk, but the trust will look after that. So it's more like they're dealing with a mortgage. So then the mortgage will be going on to an investment. So you will have maybe the first place registered on the rental property title will be the bank, and the second place would be the other people's money, which would be registered as a lien as well as a trust. So if you default, then this money is paid back through the asset because it's all secured on the title. And they can just put cash as well into the trust. You can use a joint venture agreement or a bare trust agreement with your lawyer to create a partnership with people as well. So they can put the funds in and then you become a partner on your first real estate deal. This is another great way of partnering up for joint ventures. And if you're liking this content, please let me know in the comments, or feel free to subscribe and hit the notification so you get notified whenever this content comes out. This really helps grow our YouTube channel, and this is what we're pushing for, if you could help us on that. And then the third one, which is the one I like, apart from other people's money, the third one I like is seller financing. So seller financing is just like a second mortgage. So you're wondering, why would a seller want to mortgage 20%? Well, they realize that you have some skin in the game because you got a mortgage and you have to pay that, or you're going to lose a property as well. But sometimes a motivated seller will allow you to do this because they're getting 80% of the money for the property, and if you default, then they've lost the 20%, but sometimes they've made enough over the years that they're willing to take this risk. And it also depends how much they like and trust you, because if they like and trust you, then maybe they're willing to partner with you, because that's what it is. It's another partner that you're going to be going in with. It just happens to be the seller. So this can help the seller in the fact that they're able to sell the property. It's going on for someone who's going to look after it and invest and maybe do some upgrades. Because a lot of sellers are really emotionally involved in the properties that they've spent many years, looking after, building up, dealing with the tenants, and they've got good tenants in there. And sometimes they like to create a partnership, so they still are included a little bit in the sale after it's gone through. And because you're paying interest on this 20%, because it's all about what you negotiate with the seller, they're still making even more money as well. So maybe they're going to invest this 20% in the bank or in stocks, and they're not so sure about the return. Maybe they can get a better return by dealing with you of a new buyer. So this is just an example of 3 ways that you can raise funds to get your down deposit so you can buy your first rental property. And it doesn't just stop here, because once you've done it with your first one, you can do it with your second, your third, and your fourth, and you can continue that way.